must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
The COVID-19 pandemic began against the backdrop of a steady economic growth rate of 5.4% in 2019. Our focus in implementing the Kenya Vision 2030 and its medium-term plan, dubbed the Big Four Agenda, has been bearing fruit. As a result, most of the major economic sectors evidenced impressive growth last year, including manufacturing, agriculture, tourism, and financial services. However, when it became apparent that the COVID-19 pandemic threatened to erode the significant economic gains we had made in 2019 and preceding years, on the 25th of March 2020, I did announce state interventions to cushion Kenyans against adverse economic effects of COVID-19 pandemic that warranted the national exchequer to forego taxes amounting to Kenya shillings 176 billion. These tax measures included the temporary suspension of the listing with the credit reference bureaus of any person, micro, small and medium enterprise, and corporate entities whose loan accounts had fallen overdue or was in arrears. 2, the immediate reduction of VAT from 16% to 14%. 3, 100% tax relief for all persons earning up to Kenya shillings 24,000. 4, reduction of pay as you earn from 30% to 25%. 5, reduction of corporation tax from 30% to 25%. Indeed, number 6, we did also instruct that all ministries were to pay approximately Kenya shillings 13 billion of verified pending bills so as to improve liquidity in the economy and ensure that businesses remained afloat by enhancing their cash flows, with the private sector also being encouraged to clear all outstanding payments owed within themselves. The Kenya Revenue Authority was directed to expedite the payment of all verified VAT refunds claims amounting to Kenya shillings 10 billion within 3 weeks, or in the alternative, allow the offsetting of withholding VAT in order to improve cash flows for businesses. Number 8, that Kenya shillings 6 billion from the Universal Health Coverage Kitty was to be immediately appropriated strictly towards supporting counties and the recruitment of additional health workers to support in the management of the spread of COVID-19. And number 9, the lowering of the central bank rate from 8.25% to 7.25% so as to prompt commercial banks to lower interest rates applicable to their borrowers and thereby availing much needed affordable credit to micro, small, and medium enterprises across the country. Number 10, the lowering of the cash reserve ratio from 5.25% to 4.25% so as to provide additional liquidity of Kenya shillings 35 billion to commercial banks in order to directly support borrowers that were distressed as a result of the economic effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. And number 11, that the Central Bank of Kenya was to provide flexibility to banks with regard to the requirements applicable to loan classification and provision of loans that were performing as of the 2nd of March, 2020. In addition, my administration, with the support of Parliament, further initiated an 8-point economic stimulus program amounting to some 56.6 billion Kenya shillings. The major objective of the program was to return the economy to the growth trajectory it was on pre-corona by increasing demand for local goods and services, cushioning vulnerable Kenyans, securing household food security for the poor, and creating employment and incomes. More importantly, the program sought to enhance liquidity in support of the business sector, particularly micro and small enterprises. Accordingly, we set aside a further Kenya shillings 5 billion for the operationalization of the credit guarantee scheme. The recovery program also targets to revamp a broad spectrum of economic sectors by hiring 5,000 health workers and 11,000 interns, even as it supports our teachers as they continue to enhance the delivery of knowledge to our children. It further seeks to create 100,000 job opportunities for the youth, besides implementing a subsidized farm input scheme for vulnerable households, and parts of the resource allocated will be utilized on the ongoing fabrication of 250,000 school desks crafted by local artisans. The state of our nation is strong, the state of our nation is steady and resilient. Similarly, the state of our economic development is and remains on course despite unexpected disruptions to our economy and way of life, chiefly from COVID-19. With regard to our national response to COVID-19, Kenyans must remain vigilant, and by so doing, we are capable of defeating this invisible enemy. And now, Honorable Speakers, it is my pleasure to submit to Parliament the following 3 reports as required by the Constitution. 1, the report on all the measures taken and progress achieved in the realization of our national values. 2, report on progress made in fulfilling the international obligations of the Republic. And 3, the report on the state of security. Further, and in recognition of the centrality of transparency, accountability, and good governance as the anchors of sustainable development, and while also conscious of the pivotal role played by micro, small, and medium enterprises in driving growth and creating opportunities, I do have the pleasure of submitting, alongside the constitutionally required reports, the following other reports. 1, the report on ease of doing business, milestones 2017 to 2020. And 2, the annual report of the Office of Director of Public Prosecutions for the financial years 2017-18, 2018-19, 2019-20. Kwa hayo machache na mengi, Mungu awabariki na Mungu ailinde taifa letu la Kenya. Asanteni sana. Thank you very much.
Very morning. Good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us. That was a State of the Nation address that President Uhuru Kenyatta gave a couple of months ago, just bringing the country up to date with what the government has been doing in terms of, handling COVID-19 and also the effects that came with COVID-19 and how the government had responded to some of these things. And we know earlier last year, just a couple of weeks after the first case was reported in the country, we saw the government come out and offer what you had President Uhuru Kenyatta there say 100% relief to persons earning under 24 and below per month there. And there was a temporary suspension from CRB listings of micro and macro enterprises there, or businesses that had suffered during that time, which a lot, I think, did, and a lot of other things that the government took as a cushioning measures towards Kenyans who had been hard hit by effects of COVID-19, especially in our economy. And that will be, the subject of our conversation today, the Kenyan economy, as we've had President Uhuru Kenyatta there saying that the state of our nation is strong, the state of our nation is resilient. But we know that some damage was able to be incurred by the effect of COVID-19 in our economy. So to help me out this morning in our conversation, I'm joined by Jevan Karanja, all the way from Nanyuki. Jevan, good morning.
Good morning, Miriam. Good morning to our viewers wherever they are watching us from. And good morning to my friend Douglas Kirimi. Thank you for having me on the show. It's a very good topic that you're discussing. Yeah, thank you. We are looking forward to a very good conversation.
Very well. Thank you so much, Jevan. And Douglas, a very good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, Miriam Mobutu, and also to our crew back at our headquarters in Nairobi, and also to our friends across the world. Good morning. Thank you for having me on the show today.
Mm-hmm. And I'll just start by perhaps what President Uhuru Kenyatta there has said, that the state of our nation is strong, the state of our nation is resilient. Is that how you would describe the people of Kenya, Douglas?
Thank you, Miriam. And we need to know that the people of Kenya are very optimistic and are also a very strong people. And despite COVID-19 ravages that has ravaged our economy and also ravaged our income as a people, the people of Kenya remain stoic, the people of Kenya remain strong. Despite the economic hardships and also lack of basic amenities, the people of Kenya are still strong. You've seen the way the people of Kenya have responded to COVID-19 containment measures. You've seen the way the people have taken measures. Some were sharing sanitizer, some were sharing masks, some were donating foodstuffs to others, and we've been there for each other. And also in solidarity with our fellow Kenyans, we've seen our landlords reduce our house rent across the nation. We've seen Kenyans of goodwill donate food to children's home that no Kenyan has been able to continue being ravaged by COVID-19, the effects of COVID-19. We've stood with each other. We've stood with our government in the time that the government needed our input as a citizen, so that we can be able to continue fighting this medical emergency that is COVID-19. Remember, COVID-19 is not something that the government brought upon the people of Kenya. People of Kenya brought it upon themselves. It is a worldwide health emergency, and I can say that the state of our nation is strong. Our people are strong. Despite what has happened, businesses have been closed. People have lost incomes. People have lost jobs. But the people of Kenya remain stoic. The people of Kenya remain strong. The people of Kenya remain in solidarity with their nation. And also, the people of Kenya remain true to each other, loving each other, like we have done before in times of crisis, Miriam.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you so much, Evan. Are we that strong? Are we that resilient as a people?
Yeah, thank you very much, Miriam. And let me say that we are strong and we are doing well as a people because we have been observing the government protocols to curb the spread of COVID-19. But before I go further, let me say this. I want to thank the President, Republic of Kenya, President Uhuru Kenyatta, because he didn't hide any information in regard to COVID-19. He accepted that we had COVID-19 in this country, and he put on measures to curb the spread. He brought in stakeholders and the medical practitioners to ensure that our people are safe. There are some countries in Africa which denied the public the information, or they refused to accept that they are facing a global crisis. And Miriam, in Tanzania, they are our neighbors, but the situation today is quite bad. People are dying. The rate of infection is very high because they didn't accept. The government of the day didn't put measures to curb the spread of COVID-19. But President Uhuru Kenyatta, he was criticized because of giving information to the public, sharing every detail so that Kenyans will see the state of the nation. And that is how people have been able even to obey the government protocols, because they saw how this seriousness that the government has put in terms of measures and protocols to curb the spread. Therefore, I want to thank the government of President Uhuru Kenyatta because of being resilient, of being up to date, and coming into speed to mitigate and to ensure Kenyans are safe. Kenyans are safe in terms of the food. After the COVID-19, people were not able to go to their places of work. Some places of people lost jobs, but President Uhuru Kenyatta came with tax relief to Kenyans. You could see that the VAT was reduced to 14%. Therefore, it was something that we applaud the government of President Uhuru Kenyatta as the leader, because of coming and to ensure that the lives of Kenyans are safe. Also, the awareness that was created is something that have ensured these people, the Kenyans, everybody is aware of how to curb, how to wash their hands. And even the government was giving free masks. Some places public offices, you could find sanitizers. And that is something that we all as Kenyans have ensured that we curb the spread. And that is what we do in times of crisis. We start there for each other. And as Douglas have said, people helped each other, even at villages, in the cities and so on. You could see your friend is in need and you give a mask, a sanitizer, a 500 so that they can buy unga for that day. That was something that Kenyans did in solidarity. Therefore, we are still strong, and maybe we are not out of the woods yet, but one thing that I see, the numbers have been decreasing. Kenyans are still doing their jobs, observing, although not all of them are observing, but quite a number of Kenyans are still observing the government protocols. Therefore, it's something that we Kenyans, we must attribute ourselves. Although we made some mistakes in terms of refusing to follow the government, especially when we had the sensation of movement, when people are restrained from visiting some places, we could see people using other means that are not good to ensure that they get to other destinations. That is something that maybe ensured speeded the spread of COVID-19. But where we are doing well, and the government of the day should not keep any information in regard to COVID-19 to itself, but it should give to the public, so that, information is power. When you have the information, when you're provided with the data, you know how to deal, even how to prepare for the future. Therefore, on that, the government of Kenya and the people of Kenya, you have done a good job, and let's continue. Let us not forget that COVID-19 is still here with us. Thank you.
Very well, yes, COVID-19 is very much, alive and kicking, so you have to still wear your mask, sanitize your hands and wash your hands, as well as keep social distancing. And if you really don't have to be out there doing anything, just stay indoors. Still, those measures, they do apply. You walk around and you see people acting as though COVID is a story of the past. COVID is still here, and COVID, people are still in hospitals fighting for their lives. And so always remember that be safe wherever you are. All right. So we've seen a couple of sectors that were hard hit in this country. We've seen private schools, especially. A lot of them even closed down. And when the schools resumed, there's some of them which were not able to have the children back there because they were hard hit. They depend on the school fees from the parents, unlike the government schools. So a lot of them were really affected, the private school sector there. But we know that the government gave, I think, some money and to help out in some of the schools, but a lot of them were not able to reopen again for the schools to go back to those schools. And also we've seen the transport industry. When you look at the public service vehicles, now they're carrying at half capacity, and they have been hard hit. One of the industries, and we know that industry employs a lot of people, and we saw our national carrier, which is still being bailed out, But it's always being bailed out, COVID or not. KQ, there's something wrong with our national carrier there. But we've seen there also, people being fired from their jobs from all over the place because of the effects of COVID-19 that really affected some key sectors in this country. Douglas, which sector do you think was hard hit during this COVID period?
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you that you have mentioned the transport sector was hit because people will not travel, people could not go anywhere. And also remember, when this sector is not moving on, even the dollar is affected because of the oil prices for the Kenya Airways and also for the transport industry across the nation. And also remember, at the end of the day, the most hit person was the common man. The livelihood of the common man was it, because the common man could not go and get his own daily bread. Remember, most of these things, education sector was it, private sector was it, the government and all that. But these people, especially the teachers, continued receiving salaries amid this COVID-19. But the common man, a man that used to rely on these industries, a man that used to rely on daily labor, that they should be able to work and also get their daily bread, they were adversely affected, and that is where COVID-19 ate very, very, very strong. And also we've seen government came out with the subsistence measures to be able to take care of that. But at the end of the day, we saw also the controversy that rocked that. Some people would be aware up and they would not let the poor people, the poor masses, to receive these centipennies from government. And also, apart from the transport sector and also the common man, the other sector that was adversely hit is the education sector, because our children did not go to school. Most parents had to be able now to deal with double budgets, what they used to budget for their children in school and also what they used to budget for their children at home. They had to deal with double budgets. Teachers have been ravaged, especially those teachers that used to work, the BOM teachers that were employed by parents. We've seen this education sector. I have a friend that crossed like 3 schools and converted them into rentals. These are people that will never try again going to these kind of sectors. We have seen people imagine their businesses, and also startups, small businesses that had to rely on the goodwill of Kenyans, and also that could not be able to attract loans from banks like Equity and Cooperative Bank, National Bank, and all that. Small startups and small businesses were very hit because they relied on the very, 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 very masses and the population to be able to keep them going. These people cross their businesses, and their businesses have been adversely affected. And these are businesses that I don't think are going to receive even a boost from government or the banks, because most of these businesses are small businesses and startups, and they have not built their portfolio in such a way that there would be any collateral apart from the owners that would guarantee them loans in the banks to be able to come out of the ravages of COVID-19, Miriam.
Mm-hmm. All right, very well. So as we know, right now in Kenya, the number of recorded cases so far stands at 102,221. The people who have since died from COVID-19 in Kenya is at 1,791, and recovery so far stands at 84,728. And I know in a couple of hours there in the afternoon, the Ministry of Health will bring us the latest figures. That is according to the last update by the government yesterday there in the afternoon. So 102,221 cases, which I think is relatively low compared to a country like South Africa and other countries across the continent, which have really recorded high cases there. And ours is nearly 1 year later, because our first case, I think, was recorded on the 12th of March 2020. So we're not too bad, but we should not be very comfortable, because when you think about 1,791 people who have since died, and the number of people who are under intensive care units in the hospital trying to fight for their lives, who cannot even afford these hefty bills, because treating COVID-19 is very expensive, and the normal person can be a real burden for them. And we've seen, that effect and how painful some of these situations are. So we still urge for caution there. We can't even understate that much. And so, Jevan, just the same question I've asked Douglas there. From where you see it, which sector do you think was hard hit in the country?
Thank you, Miriam. One, different sectors, we must agree, were hit hard by the COVID-19. And to some extent, all Kenyans, in one way or the other, they felt the pinch of COVID-19. But one sector, the SMEs, the small-scale enterprises, I think they were most hurt because, these are small businesses. They have no big capital, but when the business started shutting down, these are the people, some of them even have not been able to return back to their business because of the money that they have already saved. They used it to sustain themselves during that hard time when we had COVID-19. But lucky enough, they are trying to come back. When you go to the markets, you see people trying now to come together to revive their business and so on, and they can try in one way or the other, because you see even the people who do agriculture, agriculture and these small-scale businesses, they go hand in hand, because most of these people who sell fruits and vegetables, they rely on the people who do farming. And when you see now the farming industry is still up because of the rains and so on, and the government mitigation measures to ensure that farmers get incentives, they get some fertilizers to ensure that they do the cropping. Therefore, the people in Nairobi will be able, and other towns will be able to get the products, and they'll be able to start their business. Number two industry in the hospitality industry and the tourism sector. I think this one knows well what COVID-19 does. And because we saw hotels closing down, we saw the tourism industry, tourism companies not going on with their job, because nobody was visiting places like Mombasa, Naivasha, even domestic tourism. And you could see the evidence of that when we had the holidays, the December holiday. People didn't travel as they used to do. People didn't go to Malindi or other places of destination as they used to do. Therefore, this one ensured that the people in this industry, and you could see the complaint that they were making all around, the hospitality industry, tourism, and the people who own bars and so on, these people have suffered because, there was also the physical distance that was supposed to be maintained when you're in such places. And the people really feared to go to these places. And therefore, I feel like they lost a lot, they suffered, and you could also see after that, there is also the breakdown of shops after they were closed down. You could see now the people who take advantage. They could come at night and break into these hotels, these bars, and they go away with some goods of a quite huge amount. Therefore, that one is that suffered. Mm-hmm. Also, in terms of the health facilities, our health system has suffered in a way, because you could see people even fearing to go to hospitals in fear of COVID-19. People restrain themselves. Other illnesses like malaria, typhoid, and other illnesses that are normal to the people, they could not visit these hospitals, and they turned to the Kenyan ways of healings and the meeting dawas ways, and that was a setback to our country, because some people, maybe in one way or the other, they lost lives, and unknowingly, because they relied on people who are unprofessional because of the fear. Also, there was congestion in our hospital units. You could see people congesting there because of especially when we had the escalating rates of COVID-19. People not getting services as required. There was inadequate of ICU beds, ventilators, PPEs, and so on. Therefore, this industry, to some extent, the COVID-19 has brought a wake-up call to the Ministry of Health and to the government on how they deal with the health and how they service and they equip our hospitals, because you have seen how fragile we are. We are not well prepared. Therefore, I think that is something that COVID-19 has exposed, and it's a good thing because the government will be able to solve that. And the number two thing, we have seen leaders, they pretend when they can't be treated in this country. When they get ill, they take a air flight and they go to get medication in India and London. But through COVID-19, they were treated in this country. Therefore, I think to them, they have seen that the need to better the health facilities of their country rather than investing in outside country, because in times of crisis, you go to where you are, you run to the nearest health facility, and that's something that I feel was a wake-up call, although it was a challenge. And the number four industry that has, I feel like, has been disorganized completely, it is the church and the religious institutions. We saw after the COVID-19, a number of churches, they tried to do their things online, and some they had no capacity to do that. We have also seen Kenyans nowadays, they are quite reluctant in terms of going to church, because for the period they have stayed in a home, and they have also learned other ways to associate or to come close to their God, not necessarily through a pastor, but their own divine ways. Therefore, the industry of the church, even today, when you go even to the local church, you'll see them now, it's time they are trying to bring things in order. But one thing they have tried to do is to go the digital way. Now, a number of the churches, you can see them, they have a platform in the social media where they can reach their audience. And number 5, and the final thing that I feel was disorganized, is our education system. You saw the school closed for 9 months, kids are home, and a lot of things happened. You see the number of young girls who got pregnant, the number of young boys who now engage in cheap labors. Some of them have not resumed to schools. Therefore, it's something that in a social organization, it have disorganized how we do things, because when these kids don't go back to school, when they're at home, the parents suffered a lot, because to some they were not prepared for it. They had to go and maintain them at home and to provide them. They are also at home. Some don't have job. Therefore, it was quite a challenge. But lucky enough, we had the system where school people could be taught through our radios and televisions. Therefore, the government tried in one way or the other. But schools, on the same issue, schools are not, some kids have lost it completely in terms of going back to school, because some are parents, some are in these fields working. Therefore, it's quite a challenge, and we feel for those young people, because when a generation, they have a gap, and the others go and others are left in terms of going to school. In future, you see that gap in terms of the work industry and so on. Therefore, we feel like the government should ensure that those kids who got pregnant, who are in cheap labors, they should be brought back to system. I see the government is trying, but they should ensure that all of them resumes back to school, because that is where we need all Kenyans to go through, so that they have the basic education, so that they can solve the challenges that come in life. Thank you.
Okay, and just the last point there that you have posed, Jevin, I think the government has been very categorical. Every child should go back to school, whether you're pregnant or not, whether you have the baby or not. Everybody, every child, every chief in every location, they've been mandated. That was a directive from President Uhuru Kenyatta through the Minister of Education, that every child should be back to school. And those who have not reported, then the local officials have the responsibility to go and find out where these children are. So a chief and sub-chief and the village elders and everybody else who have not done their work, they will be held liable. I think, President Uhuru Kenyatta was quite categorical on that. So we hope that they are cooperating and ensuring that these children go back to school. Thank you so much, Javen, for that. Now, last year... Go ahead.
We don't have the facilities, especially in terms of diet. You have a girl who is pregnant in school. The diet, in terms of uniforms, in terms of, there are a lot of challenges to take these people back to school. And I think that
yes.
My own humble opinion, if I was the one giving the recommendation, I could have said, I should have recommended not to take them back to school, but to wait until they deliver. Then until that time, maybe that it was safe to go back to school.
All right. I think point taken. I'm hoping that some people are watching, and that is something they will put into consideration. All right, very well. But as long as we're able to account and we're able to know where those children are, and even if they're in the houses, they're still able to continue with their education in one way or the other. So last year, the World Bank released the country's economic update, which bore very salient realities. The pandemic has increased poverty. This is according to the World Bank. An additional 2 million Kenyans have fallen below the poverty line after their livelihoods were heavily impacted. The unemployment rate has increased sharply, estimated to have doubled to 10.4% in the second quarter. Now, many wage workers who are still employed have faced reduced working hours, with average hours increasing from 50 to 38 per week. And also 1 in 3 households run business were not operating. And between February last year and June last year, an average revenue from household-run businesses decreased by almost 50%. The economy is creating less jobs. The formal job market is shrinking instead of expanding, and the incomes in terms of real value are falling. That is according to an economic update that was released by World Bank on the economic situation here in Kenya. And of course, we know a lot of businesses have suffered. Household businesses, micro businesses, macro businesses, a lot of them have suffered. But there's something there when we were watching that clip, President Uhuru Kenyatta, when he was having the State of the Nation address there. And something there that he mentioned that I think was very profound when he said that, they're looking, or the government was hoping that there will be an increase in demand of local goods and services, because we saw the whole world was just closed up, and we saw a lot of countries becoming very nationalistic. They were just looking out for themselves. So even those goods and donations that Africa used to receive from outside, their raw materials and things like that, they're no longer available because no country was working in terms of the industries and all that. So we had to come in, different countries and look at what we have here in the country and how we can best make use of it. Do you think we fully took advantage of the lack of coming of certain goods from outside the country, and trying to see what we have here and taking advantage and trying to build on what we have, and maybe perhaps this would set us to having stronger industries here in the country, and maybe because of that, now we realize why it is important to have our own manufacturing industries here and strengthen them. Because there are things we import in this from outside this country that truly do not make any sense. Do you understand? So if we can, have perhaps policies in place that says, you know what, we need to protect our local manufacturers, we need to protect our local markets here, industries, small industries here, so that we're able to build them up, because they're the backbone of this economy, and see if that will be. Will build our economy, because we know that is one of the key things. Manufacturing industry is one of the key pillars of President Uhuru Kenyatta's Big Four agenda. Douglas, have we fully taken advantage of that during this time?
Thank you, Miriam. And also, we need to agree and also speak the truth in terms of what is happening in our manufacturing sector, and also what is happening across the nation. For example, we have people who would invest in other things instead of putting money in the innovations and inventions that come with our young people in this nation. For example, I read a very sad story on the internet when I was doing some research for some paper. I read that when the COVID-19 broke out and Kenyans started innovating ventilators, some Kenyans were to benefit from a 15 billion US dollars kitty that was supposed to support innovators so that we can fight COVID-19 pandemic, as the race towards a vaccine was on top gear. But what happened is that these innovators, except for their prototypes, there is nothing more that came out of their ventilators and all that. Remember, we have had organizations that were bringing and also shipping these ventilators from outside the world and could not invest in the dreams of young people. When these people, young people who went on to invent beds in Githongori, the infighting among Kenyans and also the infighting among the businessmen, the government took so long for the government to infect the owner for beds and all that. Again, we have also had a crop of people in this country who have always relied on the outside world for treatment and all that. But when COVID-19 came, we saw, especially the governor of Murang'a built at that 5-bed capacity ICU in 21 days, fully equipped and fully staffed. Mm-hmm. That shows that in our country, what lacks is goodwill and also good political will, because the money is there. If leaders can be able to fly out of the country, go seek treatment in Germany, in Dubai, in America, and everywhere, it shows that our country is full of immense potential that can be able to be harnessed and also can be utilized for the better of our country. Remember, these beds that Mwangi area and the ICU that he built in 21 days, if that is the norm, when every governor is elected, they are told in 100 days in your office, we want a 50-bed capacity or 100-bed capacity ICU in your county and supporting the local industries and all that. But this is a country that still consumes milk from Orad and also from other countries in Porad and every other place. it is sad to note that in this country we have companies importing toothpicks when we have a lot of trees in this nation. When we have the same machines, we can import machines here and do manufacturing here. What happened when COVID-19 came? Most of the businesses came out, they ran out of stock, and we didn't see much of that effort being put to local innovators. We didn't see industries, companies that have been importing a lot of stock from China and other places in the world, raise bids for people to be able to manufacture those things locally. The will is there. Kenyans are very innovative, Miriam, but the people that are supposed to be putting money in there are not putting money there. For example, if I'm supposed to supply beds and also medical equipment to KEMSA or any other organization in this country, or hospitals like the leased medical equipment that were leased to counties, if I'm supposed to do that instead of sourcing locally those materials and all that, I want ready-made goods from China where I can cut a deal and give 10% and 15% kickback to some political god so that we can continue permitting corruption and growing it and to the highest proportions. And these things can be manufactured in this country, Miriam. Remember, it is the same with alcohol industry and everything. We don't want to support our own because we can be able to import cheaply from China, from Brazil. Instead of farmers in this country farming maize, Miriam, we should not even go to innovations. Maize is being planted in Congo by top politicians and also imported from Mexico and Brazil so that we can be able to continue refranchising our poor people and also making them poorer so that we can be able to control them politically. And that is the state, the sad state of our nation, and we don't invest in the lives of our young people. For example, if I manufacture, good wells, and there is a Chinese person who manufactures the same wells with the same ingredients, the same processes, and he offers to sell it at 9 shillings, and I'm selling at 10 shillings, depending on my business environment as a Kenyan. The Kenyan people or Kenyan business people are going to take advantage of the Chinese people. That's why we saw most of the businesses hike their prices because they were running out of stock, and they sold at a triple price on what Kenyans are supposed to get it because they could not get it anywhere because the sea was crossed, the airplanes were not operating, and everywhere they could not be able to import these things, Miriam. But as a country, we have not taken advantage of this opportunity, a window of opportunity that came over 9 months ago, over 1 year ago when COVID-19 landed in the world. And I think we need to do more so that we can support our local industries, our local manufacturing industries. One of the big four agenda of President Uhuru Kenyatta is empowering the manufacturing sector. I think our manufacturing sector should be more empowered, and also more resources put there so that our local innovators and inventors can be able to take advantage of that and propel our nation to the next half of development, and also as a manufacturing hub that will create more jobs for our people. But Miriam, when we import these things from China and other countries, we are not saying that imports are bad, but if we keep importing these imports there, we are losing millions of jobs for the young people in this nation, and we will keep churning out graduates from universities that cannot be able to secure jobs because we used corrupt ways to import staff from outside the world and bringing them in the country so that we can be able to get kickbacks. The 15%, 20% that you give kickbacks out of the to your political goals in this nation for you to secure a tender for Ministry of Health or KEMSA, it is the same 20% that can be converted into the millions of jobs that we keep promising Kenyans every 5 years when there is an election, Miriam. And I hope that our country is going to get into a true reform path that empowers their manufacturing sector and also invest in the dreams of the young people and their people as a country.
Thank you so much. Very well said, Douglas Kirimi. President Uhuru Kenyatta, I know that the manufacturing industry is something very important to you, and you wanted to leave a manufacturing industry that is very strong. But for that dream to be realized in this country, then our our manufacturing industry in the country must be protected by putting policies in place that ensures Kenyans out there who are working hard that these products they're making and their contribution to the economy of this country will be appreciated, and their products will be appreciated by Kenyans. And I've seen President Uhuru Kenyatta leading, by the way. I know people make a lot of fun when he wears, like yesterday he had that nice red shirt there. And we know Kenyans started making fun every time he would come up and issue these, press conferences updating us on situations, especially during this time of COVID-19. He would come, every time with a new shirt, a nice shirt, and we understand those were from Rivertex in Eldoret. So President Uhuru Kenyatta has been in the forefront of supporting the local manufacturing industries there by adorning those nice shirts he does every now and then. So I think that is a good thing, but that is just a small portion of it. We have to look at the bigger picture, and our small industries in this country, our manufacturing, our Jua Kali sector. These people must be protected. Otherwise, it will only look good on paper, right, Jevon?
Yeah, thank you. Exactly, Miriam. It will look only good in papers. But one, we must applaud the government of the day, President Uhuru Kenyatta. He has tried in one way or the other. We have seen him opening car assemblies in Thika, in Mombasa, in Nairobi. Therefore, he is doing something. And even the reviving of the Rivertex industries in Eldoret, that was a very big step in the textile industry. And we have seen the president walking the talk, and he wears shirts made in Kenya by our tailors and designed by our fashionists in this country. Therefore, that is something that, and he also urged government officials every Friday to be wearing those kind of good clothes from our local industries. And we have seen, Miriam, the impact when a head of state walks the talk, a number of people follows what he does rather than what he says. We have seen when you go around the town, you see a number of men, even women, with this kitenge outfits is becoming a tradition, is becoming a norm. And when you are around, I have walked into various towns these days, and you can't lack 1 or 3, 4 people in these shirts made in Kenya by our own designs. Therefore, there is something that is happening, and we need so now to improve and to increase the speed so that we get the industry running and we get to sustain to a point where we can do away with the Mitumba's business. If we get to that point, Miriam, then we'll call it a success. Because for now, we still have the Mutumba industry, and it is something that is quite, these Mitumbas are very cheap, and many Kenyans can afford. But if we work well in our textile industries, people will be able to buy new clothes made in this country, because one, they will improve on their quality, the quality and the price, so that Kenyans will afford. And we can do that by ensuring that we revive the industries, like the cotton growing industries, the pyrethrum, and all these other things that are used to get material used to make clothes. Therefore, that will be a very, very good step. And also on industry, we have the Jua Kali sector. These are industry that President Uhuru Kenyatta has tried much to invest to ensure that men who have skills. And that is why through the TVET institution, people are able to be taught skills and technical courses that can help them become industrious and to invest in these manufacturing industries. We have seen it become a reality. When people go there, the engineering, other courses that are offered in this TVET, they get the first-hand skills. And when they come out of school, they are very reliable people. They are the people who are investing and are inventing the ICU beds. They are coming up with other means, the ventilators, as we see in KU. Therefore, all these things is something that the government is giving a lot of emphasis. We also saw President Uhuru Kenyatta when he was in Mombasa, the ICT. I don't remember the name, but we saw.
Was it in somewhere in Taita? Somewhere, yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, but then I'm forgetting the name. But we saw the kind of inventions through the digital and the ICT sector. Therefore, when we talk of in the industries and the manufacturing, we are also talking of the digital kind of innovations that most young people are engaging in. The software, people are coming up with new softwares, with new ways, with new apps that can help Kenyans solve problems. Therefore, that is something that we applaud the government for giving this country a space to expand in terms of technology, in terms of industries, and we applaud the government, and we should continue emphasizing more on these technical courses so that we have people who are skill oriented. We saw when we had the SGR construction, to some point we lacked the technicians who could be used to fit those metals in that construction, and we saw the urge, and that is why the government is emphasizing so that we not only create jobs, but we bring the culture of innovation, inventions, and that is a way of creating jobs. Because when you invent something new, you employ other young people to come and help you run these industries. Number three, also on the same issue of industrialization and manufacturing, the president is talking of value-added agriculture, where people are being encouraged to process through the processing industries. People are being urged to process their goods so that they can maximize on their profits. When he was in Chaka Market in Nyeri last 2 weeks, the president emphasized to have a processing unit where people will come process their tomatoes, and they have tomato sauce and so on, and they sell. They come, they process their potatoes, they have the cribs and so on, and they package and they export. By doing that, that is part of manufacturing, because they'll be able to create jobs through the processing and the value addition to our agricultural produce, and that will maximize profits, will create jobs to young people, and people now will stop relying on being given handouts by politicians to go and heckle, and it will reach a point when these politicians calls for a meeting, the young people will be so busy in these sectors doing their job to have something in their pocket. And that is the dream of every leader. That is the dream that the Kenya we want in future. And President Uhuru Kenyatta has just laid the foundation, and he is walking the talk. And I hope the next president, and because he have said the river president will do better than him, this country will be heading to a second class and a first world class country. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. We are joined by Kidi. Kidi, good. Is it? Yes, it's still good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Late to the party. Thank you.
All right, it's okay, and we are far gone with our conversation, but I'll just pose for you the same question that Javan and Douglas had just answered there. And we looked at a speech that President Uhuru Kenyatta gave when he was giving his State of Address the Nation a couple of months ago in Parliament, and he mentioned that there has been an increase of demands when it comes to local goods and services, because we were forced to consume our own stuff because the rest of the world was closed up. So we had to realize, okay, so there's something that actually is produced in this country. Oh, so there's something that is made in Kenya, but we keep exporting it from outside, and we don't even realize that we have this. But also my question was, have we maximized on this opportunity? Did we take full advantage to ensuring that we are able to bring to the fore some of these things in our manufacturing industry, which, as we know, is very key to President Uhuru Kenyatta, as it is part of his Big Four agenda? Were we able to fully take advantage of this opportunity that COVID-19 brought to us, that forced us to consume our own stuff that a lot of times we're not very good in doing?
Yes, Miriam, well, thank you for your question. First, let us first appreciate that COVID-19 and the subsequent measures that were put in place by the WHO effectively ensured that there was a disruption of the global supply chain. And with the disruption of the global supply chain, it therefore became imperative on local governments, local administrations, including Kenya, to ensure that they make necessary investment in their internal manufacturing to ensure that they therefore could able to manufacture and produce their own goods. you realize that when the pandemic came, the president, among the measures put in place by the government, administration of President Kenyatta, was not only to ensure that there was money being sent to the vulnerable people, but then it will also ensure that there was an environment where those who are willing to stick their neck out and produce something were able to do so. Going forward, you realize that even before the COVID-19, the government was pushing for what is called Buy Kenya, Build Kenya. And you remember that the president has been photographed a lot of times wearing African prints. That is, I think, part of the Buy Kenya, Build Kenya. So that today we have a huge potential. The only thing that in my estimation remains to be done to ensure that we fully unlock our potential is ensuring that we restructure our tax regime to ensure that our tax regime is therefore not punitive to local investors, young people in this country who are willing to stick their neck out to have an idea and add and transform that idea into business. Business can then not only generate revenue for the economy, but also ensure that there is local employment created within the economy. Thank you.
All right, very well. Thank you so much. So there is one industry that I think has been very much underutilized in this country, and that is the maritime sector. So I'd like for us to take a look at a clip that President Uhuru Kenyatta was talking in effect of the maritime industry or the blue economy in this country.
Following our global launch of the New Ocean Action Agenda, today I'm very pleased and indeed excited to join you in our national launch. For our gathering today seeks to signify and build on Kenya's goodwill to put in place a sustainable ocean economy. Ladies and gentlemen, despite prevailing trends, I am certain that productivity and protection of our natural resource can coexist seamlessly. And it is clear that the ocean economy is a smart investment that can deliver social, economic, environmental benefits to all the people of the world. And as such, we in Kenya are keen to fully realize the potential of our 142,000 square kilometer exclusive economic zone. But however, as we do so, we will steadfastly protect our marine resources, even as we pursue its enhanced development and productivity. Ladies and gentlemen, the high-level panel for a sustainable ocean economy has three overarching goals: a shared understanding of the relationship between the ocean and the economy, a recognition that economic production and ocean protection must be mutually supporting, and a suite of innovations in policy, governance, markets, and incentives that will align robust economic development with protection of the underlying natural capital of the ocean. These goals were aligned and with the collective vision of our nation as laid down in our long-term national development blueprint, we commonly refer to as Kenya Vision 2030. Embedded therein is a focus on the ocean, more familiar reliance on terrestrial-based economic activities. In addition, our 6 coastal counties of Mombasa, Kwale, Kilifi, Tana River, Lamu, and Taita Taveta have identified the ocean and blue economy as one of their 3 value chains to prioritize in their county development plans. The Lake region, comprising some 14 counties within the Lake Victoria Basin, and constituting about 30% of Kenya's population, has similarly also prioritized the blue economy as a key economic pillar. So, ladies and gentlemen, we recognize that ocean knowledge and technology are more developed today than ever before. But despite that progress,
welcome back. That is President Uhuru Kenyatta there addressing matters of blue economy. And in 2018, I believe, I was at a workshop at the coast in Mombasa, and it was being led by, I think, peers, I think under the Ministry of Transport, Nancy Kachingira, a very smart lady there, and I interviewed her also days later from my old job. And what really struck me from that workshop we were attending as journalists, she said that when we get goods from outside, Kenya at the port, sometimes and a lot of times the ships go back empty because we have nothing to take back. And as a Kenyan, that really bothered me. So I'm just wondering, are we doing enough with the waters that God has blessed us with to benefit our economy? Kidi, I'll start with you and then I'll go to Douglas.
The question is, are we doing enough? Mm-hmm. Well, truth is, the answer is not quite. Not quite, because we have not put in place the necessary investment to ensure that we are able to get maximum benefit from our maritime body. For instance, even if fishing alone, we are not doing sufficient enough fishing that we are not from Lake Victoria, not from the Indian Ocean. We have not been able to leverage on the benefit that comes with having such natural resources at our disposal. Lake Victoria is, for instance, greatly underutilized. The lakefront, greatly underutilized. Lake transport, greatly underutilized. And the same can be said of Mombasa. So the answer is not quite. We are not getting a value for the resources we have around this country, especially in maritime areas. Yes.
All right, thank you so much. Douglas, the same question.
Thank you, Miriam. And I also believe I agree with Kindi and also Kindi Mwaga that we have not utilized our maritime resources for the benefit of the people of Kenya, and also especially for job creation for the young people. Remember, at the coast of Kenya, where we have invested in the blue economy and also the fishing points that the president is about to open, I think it's almost complete now. We have the capacity to supply not only this country, because we have Chinese fish in the market. I cannot eat fish that comes from Lake Victoria today comfortably without eating Chinese fish in the market. And again, we have a lot of fish in the Indian Ocean. We have fish in Lake Victoria that we have not been able to get to utilize and also put our resources together so that we can create job opportunities for young people and supply our country and also supply the outside world. Remember, we not only have fish in the Indian Ocean and also in Lake Victoria that we can supply the country. We also have supplies that we can supply to the outside world. But we have cartels who have infiltrated our markets with fake fish from China, plastic fish that we cannot be able to, we are buying at a cheap price, but it's not healthy for our nation and it's not healthy for our bodies. Again, if we have invested enough in Lake Victoria that such that we can be able to bring the fish from Lake Victoria with a train where we can put refrigeration in these trains so that we can be able to bring and bridge them gap in the market so that we can be able to stop the imports that come from outside so that we can bridge that gap with our own Lake Victoria fish, create opportunities to the people in Lake Victoria region, Great Lakes region, and also for the people in Mombasa. Our blue economy sector is very underutilized for the benefit of the people of Kenya. And I think that is where we need to also now channel most of the young people that would want to work in different sectors. Blue economy is a big sector. No matter what each of us studied in school, they can be able to secure a job if this is a sector that we have really put our attention to. But I'm very happy for the progress that the President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta, and the focus that he has put on the maritime sector in this country. I hope it is going to give our country and also our young people who are being churned out from the universities every day a good impetus to be able to start life and also give them something that they can be able to make a living from. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And it's interesting you've said, yes, indeed, it can really employ a number of, good amount of Kenyans if that sector was well utilized. And we were there. I think we were at Bandari Institute, which is a government institute. So anybody who wants to learn or anything, any career that is related to the blue economy, you can go there. I think it's Bandari Institute or something. A very nice school there at Bandari in Mombasa. Jevan Karanja, have we done enough to benefit from these waters? Wachana na ile disputed maritime between us and Somalia, but what we already have, are we doing enough to ensure that we get the maximum benefit from it?
Yeah, thank you for that good question. One, we are trying. We have not fully utilized the resources or the capacity of the blue economy in our country to a point where we can say it is a means of economic diversification, or where we can say it is really making money or employing people for where it's supposed to be. But thanks to President Uhuru Kenyatta and to the international, I saw the last summit that we had of the blue economy that was in Kisumu. People came and they gave views, and people from outside the country, and they have started giving emphasis and a lot of awareness to the people on the details and what blue economy can do in terms of transforming the economy of a country. Therefore, it's something that is quite taking momentum. We have seen President in Lake Victoria. They are clearing the weeds that have been a problem there. In Mombasa, they are doing a lot of things and ensuring that Kenyans get the awareness. They understand the impact of a blue economy, the needs to conserve our environment, and to ensure that we also conserve and we don't pollute our oceans and lakes. Therefore, it's something that the government is doing, and I feel with full utilization, because we are heading there, a lot of young people will be employed, jobs will be created, markets for the goods that come from the oceans, especially the fish and other commodities will be exported. We know in some lakes we have the salt and so on. Therefore, it's an industry that can create a lot of job, and in terms of making an income, the government will be able to make a lot of money, and that will transform into the developments of this country. Therefore, I feel the president should continue with the same pace and creating a lot of advocacy, awareness, and training more people who can work in these sectors. And I think you have mentioned of our Baburi Institute. I think we are heading there. People now should start seeing these jobs, these institutions, this knowledge of the maritime knowledge as a knowledge that can be useful as any knowledge that we go to seek in our universities or in the colleges. Therefore, that is something good, because when we get the information, people tend to take their attention on what is being said. Therefore, the government should continue giving this information to the people of Kenya so that they can understand the impact of blue economy and other sectors of the economy, all included. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Evan. Sio Bamburi. Bamburi is wanatengeneza cement. Kule ni Bandari. Bandari Institute. It's a government institution. Yes, Bandari. But thank you so much. I get the point.
They are on post.
Yes. All right. Kitty, end it for us. We started by, what President Uhuru Kenyatta had given in an earlier speech that we had played there. And President Uhuru Kenyatta said that the state of the nation is strong. The state of the nation is resilient. So that is where I want to end this afternoon. So, Kitty, are we strong as a nation? Can we emerge as stronger and more resilient after this pandemic has passed? And what can we do? If you were to advise the government today, what are some of the things you think should be put in place to ensure that our economy is able to recover?
Miriam, I think I identify with the words of the president because they go beyond the political rhetoric and speak to the character of our people. That in this country, we have confronted greater challenges than COVID-19. In this country, in early 90s, when the Bretton Woods institutions had slammed brakes on foreign aid to Kenya, and our economic growth was at negative 0.2 in a year, we, the people of Kenya, were able to emerge victorious with our heads held high. In this country, when in 1998, the terrorists bombed the American embassy, what was called the Bell-Bottom building in Nairobi, with the people of Kenya, and the tourism was greatly affected, we, the people of Kenya, were able to rise from those ashes like a phoenix. In 2007, when we descended on each other, killing one another as a country, we were able to rise. Today, I believe that we are stronger and more resilient because of the demonstrated goodwill of the president and his administration to ensure that, among other things, that he puts the people of Kenya back to work, that we are able to again be a flourishing economy, that we are able to cushion the poor and the vulnerable from the devastating effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, especially its economic side, as we also make investment on the healthcare infrastructure. Mm-hmm. I believe that when we match common imagination with common purpose, as the president had demonstrated that we truly can, that we will rise. Today, as we speak, because previously we spoke about the maritime resources, mm-hmm. The government has made investment in Kisumu, in Homa Bay, in Kindu Bay, in Miuru Bay, and dredging is taking place in that part of the Lake Victoria. When that happens, that dredging is going to open up Lake Victoria to maritime transport, which in itself is going to create massive employment. The other thing is that alone is going to, in a small way, reconnect us back to the global supply chain, because our ships will be able to go to Mwanza, to Bukoba in Tanzania, to Uganda, and when that is supplemented with the meter gauge railway and the SGR and a robust road transport network that the president has put in place, it is going to, in a short while, if the people of Kenya are willing to stay the course, I think we are going to rise again like a phoenix from these ashes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Kidi. And we know that Kenya's economic freedom score is at around 55.3, making its economy the 132nd freest in the 2020 index. And of course, Kenya is ranked the 23rd out of the 47 countries that were ranked in the sub-Saharan region. And we know that Kenya is the leading economy here in East Africa. Thank you so much, Kidi Morga. Thank you so much, Chevan Karanja. Thank you so much, Douglas Kirimi. We have been looking at Kenya's economy and the impact COVID-19 has had in our economy. This has been the People's Court. My name is Miriam Mugoto. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you later.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.